Stop everything. Breathe. Now listen closely, because what I'm about to say could save you from years of pain, confusion, and settling for less than you deserve. We live in a world obsessed with finding the one. Movies, songs, society, they all tell you that your life begins when you fall in love. But here's the brutal truth. You don't find love by searching for someone else. You find it by discovering who the hell you are first. Because if you don't know yourself, if you haven't built yourself, how can you ever build something real with someone else? Let me break it down. Bold, raw, and real. This is not a fairy tale. This is a wake-up call. You can't pour from an empty cup. That truth is not just poetic, it's foundational. And yet, we keep trying. We run into relationships thinking love will fix what's broken, complete what's missing, or silence the war going on inside us. But love isn't a repair shop. It's a reflection. Whatever is within you, whatever is unresolved, unhealed, unseen, that's exactly what love will shine a spotlight on. The moment you get close to someone, every fear, every insecurity, every crack in yourself, worth will rise to the surface. And if you haven't taken the time to face them alone, they will explode under the weight of intimacy. We chase validation like a drug, thinking that if someone finally chooses us, it will make us feel whole. But let's call that out for what it is. Emotional dependence. It's not romance, it's a silent cry for help. And that cry will echo louder the deeper you fall for someone. Because no matter how much love they give you, it won't fill a void you never addressed. You become a mirror of your own neglect, handing someone an empty cup and expecting them to fill it again and again until they're drained. That's not love. That's survival. And relationships built on survival always collapse. Self-growth is not optional. It's survival armor in a world full of emotional chaos. If you don't ground yourself in self-awareness, you'll keep getting swept up in connections that trigger your wounds instead of healing them. You'll mistake attention for affection, passion for stability, chaos for chemistry. And while the highs might feel intoxicating, the crashes will feel like emotional whiplash. The truth is, no one can give you peace if you haven't learned how to create it within. No one can teach you your worth if you haven't sat down with your own scars and declared, I'm still valuable, even broken. Healing yourself isn't just about solitude, journaling, or meditating in silence. It's about making the hard choices. Saying no when your old self would have begged to be chosen. Walking away from what feels familiar but no longer serves your evolution. It's waking up at 5 a.m. to work on your craft instead of scrolling for validation. It's building a life so rich in purpose, love becomes an enhancement, not a necessity. That level of inner work makes you powerful. Not because you become cold, but because you become as clear. You know who you are. You know what you bring. And you're no longer willing to shrink to be accepted. When your cup is full, love doesn't become your lifeline. It becomes your legacy. You stop choosing people from a place of need and start choosing from a place of alignment. You attract partners who reflect your strength, not your wounds. You show up in relationships ready to give, not just to receive. You support without losing yourself, love without losing your voice, and stay grounded even when things get hard. Because you're not relying on someone else to keep you standing. You've already done the work. You've already built the foundation. Love becomes a beautiful addition, not a desperate transaction. So let's get brutally honest. You want to grow with someone, grow yourself first. You want deep love, start with deep healing. Because the version of you that has done the inner work, that version doesn't settle for breadcrumbs. That version knows that love isn't meant to fill a cup that's been empty for years. It's meant to flow between two people who filled their own and now have something extraordinary to pour into each other. And that kind of love, it's not ordinary, it's not desperate, it's not painful, it's powerful. But you'll never find it until you become it. Fill your cup. Everything else flows from there. Don't chase love when you haven't even taken the time to meet yourself. That's one of the biggest mistakes people make. They jump into relationships hoping to discover who they are through the eyes of someone else. But identity isn't something you find in another person. It's something you build alone through reflection, discipline, and deep inner work. You cannot expect another human being to define you, to show you your worth, or to heal what you've ignored. Until you've stood face to face with your own soul and asked the hard questions. Who am I? What do I believe in? What do I value? You will continue to lose yourself in every connection that comes your way. Love won't give you clarity if you haven't already built the foundation for it. People talk about intimacy like it's a goal. They rush into vulnerability, physical closeness, shared secrets, thinking that the more you reveal, the stronger the bond. But real intimacy demands a level of self-awareness most people avoid. If you don't know yourself, how can you possibly invite someone else to know you? What are they getting access to? A true, rooted, authentic soul, or a college of projections, pain, and personas you've picked up from your past? You can't fake identity and expect intimacy to feel safe. Love doesn't thrive in confusion. It thrives in clarity, and that clarity starts within. The problem is, we've been conditioned to believe that being alone is a problem that needs fixing. That solitude is loneliness. That silence is emptiness. But solitude is where you meet your truth. It's in the quiet moments, when no one's watching, when there's no one to perform for, that you start to hear your own voice. And that voice is your compass. Without it, you're navigating blind. You'll take on someone else's dreams. You'll lose your boundaries trying to keep someone happy. You'll shift into whatever version you think they'll love. And in the process, you'll disappear. That's not connection. That's emotional erasure. Before you give someone your heart, your mind, your time, you need to ask yourself if you even know the value of what you're offering. If you've never taken the time to recognize your own depth, your own fire, your own standards, then how can you expect someone else to treat you with the respect you deserve? We teach people how to love us by how we love ourselves. If you come to the table unsure of your worth, you'll accept less. You'll explain away red flags. You'll convince yourself that crumbs are a feast. But when you've done the inner work, when you've seen your light, you stop negotiating with people who dim it. So many relationships become toxic not because of lack of love, but because of lack of identity. People get so lost in the relationship that they forget who they were before it. Their goals, their passions, their individuality, all sacrificed on the altar of attachment. And then when the relationship crumbles, they're left broken, not just because they lost someone, but because they lost themselves. That's why building your identity before intimacy is not just healthy, it's necessary. You need to walk into love knowing who you are, what you want, and what you refuse to tolerate. Because if you don't, the relationship will define you, and not always in a way that serves your growth. Knowing who you are gives you power. It gives you clarity. It allows you to show up in love without fear of losing yourself. You're not desperate to be chosen because you've already chosen yourself. You're not afraid to walk away because you know your peace is more valuable than someone else's presence. And that kind of self-possession, it's rare, it's magnetic, it demands respect. But most importantly, it protects you. Because when you know who you are, you don't just fall in love, you choose it. Intentionally, powerfully, without compromise. And that's the kind of love that lasts. Too many people delay building their lives, waiting for someone to show up and make it all feel worth it. They sit on their dreams, silence their passions, and downplay their ambitions because they think life will really begin when they fall in love. That's a lie we've been fed since childhood. From fairy tales to pop culture, the message is loud: find your person, and then your life will have meaning. But here's the truth. If your life doesn't feel meaningful before they arrive, it won't magically transform once they do. You can't hand someone else the keys to your happiness and expect them to know how to drive your life. You've got to build your world first, brick by brick, passion by passion. Not for anyone else, but for you. There is something powerful, almost sacred, about watching someone fully invested in their own growth. Someone who wakes up every day with purpose, who chases goals not for validation, but because they know what they're capable of. That energy is magnetic. It draws people in, not because they're trying to impress, but because they're simply being. Building a life you're proud of isn't about having it all figured out. It's about showing up for yourself every single day, despite the doubts, despite the fear. It's about developing habits that support your vision, choosing progress over perfection, and refusing to let anyone else's timeline define your path. When you operate from that space, you no longer seek love to escape your reality. You seek love that complements the life you've already created. Your passions, your hustle, your personal evolution, they are not distractions from love. They are prerequisites for it. When you're engaged in your own journey, you stop depending on a partner to give you purpose. You don't need someone to rescue you from boredom, or validate your existence, or convince you that you're enough. Because you've already given yourself those things. You've already cultivated a sense of fulfillment that doesn't rely on another person's presence. And when you meet someone from that space, when your life is already full and vibrant, you attract a different kind of energy. A relationship built not on lack, but on abundance. Not on need, but on choice. People think being single is a waiting room, that it's just the awkward in between before the real story begins. But that's the most dangerous mindset you can have. Because while you're waiting, life is happening. Opportunities are passing. Growth is being missed. Being single is not a pause. It's a stage of power if you choose to use it wisely. It's the time to explore, to travel alone, to take risks, to learn new skills, to fall so in love with your independence that no relationship ever becomes your identity. Because once you realize how complete you can be on your own, love becomes a gift, not a goal. And you stop compromising your potential for companionship. When you've built a life you're proud of, you walk differently. You speak differently. You stop apologizing for your standards, and you stop shrinking to fit someone else's idea of who you should be. You know what you bring to the table, so you're not afraid to eat alone. And that kind of self-respect is not arrogance. It's alignment. You've aligned your actions with your values, your goals with your growth, your choices with your truth. So when someone enters your world, they're not entering a void. They're stepping into a space that's already alive with purpose. They either elevate that space or they don't belong in it. It's that simple. You don't build a powerful life so someone can admire it. You build it so that when love comes, it has something powerful to join. Love isn't meant to be the architect. It's meant to be the partner. And if you've already laid a strong foundation, love will only help you build higher. But if you haven't, if you're still waiting to be saved, still holding back your full potential until someone notices, then you're not ready. Not yet. You owe it to yourself to become the person you'd want to be with. Someone who doesn't just exist, they is live. Someone who doesn't just wait, they is build. Emotional maturity is not a suggestion, it's a requirement. You can have beauty, charm, talent, success, but if you haven't developed emotional discipline, all of it means nothing in a relationship, because eventually, your triggers will speak louder than your words. Eventually, the unhealed parts of you will take the wheel and drive you straight into self-destruction. Emotional immaturity doesn't show itself on the first date. It waits. It shows up in the middle of a disagreement, when you feel misunderstood, when your ego is bruised, when your fear of abandonment kicks in. And in those moments, if you don't have the tools to manage your emotions, you'll sabotage even the most beautiful connections. We all carry emotional baggage. It's human. But emotional maturity is knowing how to carry it without dropping it on someone else. It's the ability to say, "This is my wound, and I'm working on it," instead of bleeding all over someone who didn't cause it. You don't have to be perfect, but you have to be aware. You have to be responsible for how you show up. Because if every disagreement turns into a war, if every difficult conversation becomes a shouting match, if your partner has to tiptoe around your feelings, that's not love, that's emotional volatility. And it's exhausting. No one should have to walk on eggshells just to be close to you. Mastering your emotions doesn't mean suppressing them. It means understanding them, feeling them without letting them control you. Emotional maturity means having the patience to pause before reacting, the humility to apologize when you're wrong, and the strength to communicate without attacking. It's being able to say, "I feel hurt," without weaponizing your pain. It's choosing to respond instead of explode. That kind of control isn't weakness, it's power. It means you're no longer a prisoner of your past or your patterns. You're choosing a new way of being, one that allows love to grow in a space of safety instead of chaos. Relationships are pressure cookers. They bring to the surface what's been buried deep inside. And if you haven't taken the time to confront your emotional patterns, they will play out in your connection over and over again. You'll misinterpret kindness as manipulation. You'll react to your partner's silence with panic, thinking they're leaving. You'll see feedback as rejection. And little by little, you'll push away the very thing you wanted most. Emotional maturity is the only thing that will stop that cycle. It's the only thing that will allow you to differentiate between what's yours to deal with and what's theirs to communicate. The truth is, most people are walking around emotionally underdeveloped, thinking it's normal. They normalize ghosting, gaslighting, passive aggression, silent treatments, as if these are just parts of dating. But they're not. They're signs of emotional immaturity. And until you elevate your own emotional intelligence, you'll continue attracting and tolerating those behaviors. You'll mistake drama for passion and confusion for connection. But once you grow emotionally, your entire standard shifts. You no longer crave chaos. You crave calm. You stop reacting to triggers and start responding to truth. And you start choosing people who know how to handle their emotions instead of dumping them on you. If you truly want to grow with someone, if you want a relationship that doesn't just survive but thrives, you have to commit to emotional growth. That means healing your childhood wounds. It means unlearning toxic coping mechanisms. It means practicing emotional accountability every single day. You don't get to blame your partner for everything. You don't get to play the victim when you haven't done the work. Real love requires emotional adults, not wounded children in grown-up bodies. And when you become emotionally mature, you don't just attract better relationships. You create them because you've stopped waiting for someone else to manage your emotional world. You've taken the wheel. And that's when love becomes not just possible, but powerful. Your standards are not just preferences. They are a reflection of how deeply you respect yourself. And yet, so many people keep their standards low because they're afraid of being alone. They tolerate inconsistency, disrespect, emotional unavailability, all in the name of love. But love without self-respect is not love. It's desperation dressed up as romance. When you don't know your worth, you'll keep giving people discounts they haven't earned. You'll entertain conversations that drain you, relationships that confuse you, and connections that make you question your value. That's not because people are cruel. It's because you've allowed them to believe they can get away with it. The version of you that hasn't grown yet will chase people who don't choose you. You'll think their lack of effort is a challenge to be won rather than a sign to walk away. You'll romanticize inconsistency, misinterpret mixed signals as mystery, and call chaos chemistry. But let me tell you something. Clarity is love. Consistency is love. Respect is love. Anything else is manipulation, and the longer you tolerate it, the more you'll convince yourself it's normal. But it's not. It's just a reflection of what you think you deserve. And if your standards are built on insecurity instead of self-worth, you'll keep attracting lessons instead of love. Raising your standards doesn't mean building walls. It means building boundaries. It means knowing the difference between being open and being available to nonsense. It means being able to say, I like you, but I love me more. Because self-respect doesn't beg. It doesn't chase. It doesn't shrink to fit someone else's comfort zone. When you start to grow, you'll notice you no longer find validation in being chosen. You'll find it in choosing. Consciously, powerfully, from a place of wholeness, not emptiness. You'll stop being impressed by shallow affection and start seeking depth, intention, integrity. When your standards rise, your circle changes. You stop entertaining people who only show up when it's convenient. You no longer tolerate conversations that lack substance or relationships that lack direction. You become more selective, not because you're arrogant, but because you finally realized your energy is sacred. You understand that not everyone deserves access to you, and that time is not just something to fill, it's something to invest. And when you treat your time, your body, your emotions with care, others learn to do the same. Because how you treat yourself teaches the world what's acceptable in your life. There will be people who call you too much when you start demanding respect. Let them. There will be people who say you're being difficult when you refuse to settle. Let them. Those are not your people. Your people will not require you to dim your light. They will match your energy. They will respect your standards. Not because they have to, but because they are want to. The right person won't be intimidated by your self-respect. They'll be inspired by it. And you'll never have to shrink to keep them. You'll never have to explain why your standards matter. Because they'll come with their own. You don't need to lower your standards to find love. You need to elevate your self-worth to attract the love that matches you. And that begins with growth. Personal growth sharpens your awareness. It helps you see through the noise, the manipulation, the pretty lies. It helps you recognize what's real and what's just well-packaged dysfunction. And when you've done the inner work, when you've built a relationship with yourself that's unshakable, your standards aren't just lines in the sand. They're non-negotiables. They become the foundation of everything you allow into your life, not as a defense mechanism, but as a declaration. This is what I deserve. This is what I require. This is what I refuse to live without. If your entire identity crumbles when a relationship ends, that's not heartbreak. That's proof you built your sense of self around another person instead of within yourself. And that is one of the most dangerous things you can do, because when you let someone else define you, love becomes a gamble. You give away your power, your peace, your self-worth, and you pray they never walk away. But here's the truth. People will leave. They might choose someone else. They might change. They might disappoint you. And when they do, if you don't have a foundation that's rooted in who you are outside of that relationship, the entire world collapses. That's not love. That's emotional dependency. And no matter how good it looks on the outside, it will always be unstable at its core. We've been conditioned to believe that real love should consume us, that it should take over our lives, our thoughts, our identities, that if we're not obsessed, we're not truly in love. But obsession is not devotion. It's dysfunction. When love becomes your entire world, you stop being the main character in your own life. You stop dreaming for yourself. You make decisions based on someone else's needs. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, you fade. You forget who you were before they arrived. You disconnect from your goals, your passions, your friends, even your inner voice. And when that love disappears, you're left with nothing to return to. That kind of loss feels like death, not because they were your everything, but because you made them your only thing. Healthy love should add to your life, not define it. It should be a powerful force that enhances who you already are, not a crutch that keeps you from standing on your own. When you've built a strong relationship with yourself, you don't look to others to complete you. You're already whole. You've got your own back, your own purpose, your own peace. So when someone walks into your life, they're not saving you. They are joining you. That shift in perspective is everything. Because when you no longer need love to feel worthy, you start attracting a higher level of connection. You're not seeking escape. You're seeking expansion. And that's where real, rooted, mature love lives. Love that adds to you feels different. It respects your time. It encourages your growth. It celebrates your independence. It doesn't punish you for having boundaries or make you feel guilty for chasing your dreams. It stands beside you, not in front of you, not behind you. It doesn't demand that you shrink. It doesn't manipulate your silence. It honors your identity. When you're in a connection like that, there's no fear of losing yourself, because you never gave yourself away to begin with. You remained whole, And that wholeness created space for something real. Not codependent, not performative, just a true. But to experience love like that, you have to be willing to choose solitude over settling. You have to be brave enough to say, I'd rather be alone in my truth than entangled in a connection that requires me to betray myself. That kind of solitude is not lonely. It's powerful. It's where you meet your strength. It's where you build your foundation. It's where you learn to validate your own voice, comfort your own heart, and inspire your own progress. And when you reach that level of self-trust, love becomes a choice, not a necessity. You don't beg to be seen. You don't compromise your standards. You simply wait for someone who sees you as clearly as you see yourself. Real love doesn't compete with your selfhood. It complements it. It doesn't ask you to abandon your path. It wants to walk it with you. But that kind of love only finds people who are already walking, who are already building, who are already whole. That's why it's never a waste of time to grow alone. Every moment you spend developing your mindset, strengthening your emotional intelligence, deepening your self-awareness, that's not pushing love away. That's preparing you for the kind of love that won't destroy your identity. It will deepen it. And that love is not only worth waiting for, it's worth growing into. Improving yourself every single day isn't just a habit, it's a lifestyle. It's the decision to refuse comfort when growth is on the table. It's choosing discipline over distraction, choosing elevation over excuses, and becoming someone your future self would thank you for. The truth is, every day you're either building your future or you're delaying it. There is no neutral. People often wait for motivation, wait for the right time, wait for a sign. But growth doesn't wait. Life doesn't pause. The clock is ticking whether you move or not. And if you're not actively investing in your evolution, you're slowly surrendering to mediocrity. Every choice you make either brings you closer to your potential or further from it. The question is, are you choosing consciously or are you living on autopilot? Growth isn't glamorous. It's not always Instagrammable. It's messy, it's uncomfortable, and most days it's silent. No one claps when you say no to that party to work on your dream. No one applauds when you wake up at 5 a.m. to train, to write, to study, to reflect. You won't always feel proud. You'll feel tired, doubtful, lonely. But the reward for showing up for yourself consistently is unshakable confidence. Not the kind that comes from likes or compliments, but the kind that comes from looking in the mirror and knowing, I'm doing the damn work. That self-trust, it's priceless. And it only comes through repetition, through sweat, through sacrifice. You don't need to become someone else. You need to become the version of yourself that's buried under fear, laziness, and excuses. Your greatest self isn't out there somewhere. It's already within you, waiting to be unleashed. But you have to fight for it. You have to dismantle the version of you that makes excuses, plays small, avoids discomfort. Because the life you want, it's on the other side of that resistance. People will tell you to just be yourself. But what if the current version of yourself isn't who you were born to be? What if being yourself means remaining stuck, undisciplined, reactive? That's not authenticity, that's settling. Real authenticity is becoming who you know you were meant to be, not who you've been conditioned to be. Improvement isn't about perfection. It's about intention. It's about being 1% better than you were yesterday. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't need to take massive leaps every day. But you do need to take some step Forward, up, inward. Growth compounds. What starts as tiny, insignificant actions, reading one page, doing 10 push-ups, setting one boundary, becomes a transformation. It's not about intensity, it's about consistency. You want results. Stop chasing motivation and start mastering habits. Your brain follows your behavior. When you repeatedly choose growth, your mind starts believing it's who you are. And once it believes that, you're unstoppable. Don't expect applause for improving. You won't always get support. In fact, the more you rise, the more you'll make people uncomfortable, especially those who benefit from your stagnation. They'll say you've changed. They'll try to pull you back to the version of you that made them feel safe. Let them. That's their battle, not yours. You're not here to stay relatable. You're here to become relentless. You're here to evolve so fiercely that you look back a year from now and barely recognize yourself. Improvement will cost you comfort. It will cost you relationships. It will cost you your old identity. But what it gives you in return, freedom, purpose, power, is worth every loss. So yes, improve yourself every day. Not because you hate who you are, but because you hate love who you're becoming. Do it because your future deserves more than your past. Do it because potential means nothing if it's never activated. Don't wait for life to force you into growth through pain, heartbreak, or loss. Choose it now. Choose it daily. Become so focused on your evolution that love becomes a reflection of your worth, not a rescue mission. When you make growth your daily standard, everything around you starts to change. Not instantly, but inevitably. And one day, when love finally finds you, it won't be looking to save you. It'll be ready to build with you. Because you showed up for yourself first. And that is the kind of love and life you deserve.